Hi friends, it's Kayla. I haven't vlogged in a while, so I'm a bit rusty. It's been over a month. It's been almost a month since I've put on makeup, so it's just a strange time overall right now, getting back into, not back to normal, not business as usual, just like some semblance of a normal routine again. I'm still not back at work. I don't know when I'll be back at the office, but I'm getting back into reading a bit more right now as well. Today is Juneteenth, and there is a 48-hour Blackathon happening where Black authors and Black queer voices are being prioritized. Liam is playing video games. And I decided to pick up a couple books by Rivers Solomon, one of them being The Deep. And then this inspired an entire vlog where I want to read mermaid books. Or maybe not even specifically mermaids, but like mermaid inspired things, just creatures in the ocean. I have a couple on my TBR that I would like to get to, one of them being The Deep. I know that the audiobook is read by Daveed Diggs, which I love his voice. I think everybody does, so I kind of want to listen to it. And it's inspired by the song written by Daveed Diggs, William Hudson, and Jonathan Snipes. I have a couple other mermaid type books on my TBR that I would like to get to, so I figured we might as well just vlog the journey of reading mermaid books kind of for the first time. I've never read the original Mermaid, Little Mermaid thing, but I have read one book. I've read Louise O'Neill's The Surface Breaks, which is a reimagined Little Mermaid, and I think the Little Mermaid story is probably in here, so maybe I should read that first. I didn't love The Surface Breaks, and I'm just kind of wondering if I can love mermaid stories, if mermaid stories are for me, and I might as well try out the ones that are on my TBR shelf. And from what I understand, it's a story of the Wajinru, which were enslaved women from Africa thrown overboard during their pregnancy, which is a real historical event, and how like whales or something became involved, and those babies were born and had the ability to live underwater. So I'm definitely moving slower through this than I thought I would, because I would say the first like 20 to 30 pages, the language was just so unfamiliar to me that I was struggling. The thing about such a fantastical setting in such a short book is that there's not a lot of time spent explaining things, like you're just in it and enjoying it. It's like listening to a song. And then I feel like afterwards will be a moment of reflection, of like thinking about what I just read and what it accomplished and what it was doing. Now I'm in it and I am really enjoying it. We're following a character named Yatu, and it's giving me The Giver vibes, even though I'm sure this idea has been around and is more culturally significant than what I read in The Giver, but that's the only thing that I read that has done this. The idea that there's a character who holds all of the memories of the past, and the idea of like giving memories to each other. So that's the main focus of this. Yatu is responsible for holding all of the painful memories of these people, and essentially these memories are destroying her and not allowing her to exist as a full, I don't want to say person because she's not a person, but I think it's about her and the idea overall of like intergenerational trauma and how much of the past is influencing current, you know, feelings and expression, and respecting that past, but how much pain can you hold? And her being responsible for all of this for everyone is so necessary but overwhelming. And I think it's at this point we're getting her being a little more of an individual and deciding what's important. It's super interesting. The writing style is beautiful but strange. It's going back and forth with kind of different perspectives and different tenses, and it is interesting. I checked out the audiobook and I think I'm going to complete it via audiobook because I do enjoy listening to it. I also listened to the song by the band Clippings, and I now see how it's all tied together. Okay, I finished it. Wow. This is an intense book. Like equally fun as in like action and interesting conversations as it is like educational, as it is like intense and difficult to read. Like it hit a lot of things. I'm giving it 4 stars. The writing style itself, just like the narrative style of it isn't something I totally love, and I still don't know if I can absolutely love mermaid stories. That's what this whole like vlog is discovering. I would definitely recommend the audiobook. I thought it was great. You know what else I would recommend? Go watching other people's reviews, because what I just realized looking at Goodreads is that everybody has already read this. I am very late to this train. Like, I'm not teaching anybody that this exists. I would highly recommend go check out the Artisan Geek and Onyx pages, their channels, and I'm sure so many other reviews, especially from Black people in this community. There's a lot more of a conversation to be had about the importance of learning your history and how difficult it can be to know your history, and all sorts of conversations that I do not have the facilities to like relate to directly in this capacity. I enjoyed where the book was going with her meeting some two-legged people and where that went. The conversation around gender was so interesting. Overall, definitely recommend. It's hard when a book is this short to know like what's a spoiler. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to talk about where the story went and the things that I liked and the things that got discussed, but fully discussing these things might spoil the book because it's more of like a conceptual book. Next, I'm going to read Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant, otherwise known as Seanan McGuire. The reason that like I'm picking these mermaid books is because this one I've heard really good things about. This one is horror, and I've previously loved Seanan McGuire's books. And then the third book, which I might as well tell you now, is A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Marrow. And it has been sitting on my list of like top most anticipated reads of the year just because it sounds really interesting. So this one I'm interested because it's supposedly scary, but I actually won't be reading this right away because we're still in Blackathon. I have other things that I'll be reading, and I'll come back and vlog once I'm actually reading my next mermaid book and when my package arrives of the third book. Okay, so far so good. I'm on my mermaid shit. It's going well. I need to get a mermaid mug. Okay. Good morning. It is another day, a couple weeks later. I just got A Song Below Water in the mail and I'm very excited to read it. Today is kind of overcast. It's been really rainy this week, so I'm going to take this book with me to the beach. This says, in a society determined to keep her under lock and key, Tavia must hide her siren powers. That is something that I realize I might be mistaken on when I've been like talking about reading mermaid books, that I'm not really reading mermaid books. I'm reading siren books. Like, there's a difference. Not that I completely know what that difference is, but we'll figure it out. Meanwhile, Effie is fighting for her own family struggles as she's pitted against literal demons from her past. Together, these best friends must navigate the perils of high school's junior year, but everything changes in the aftermath of a siren murder trial that rocks the nation when Tavia accidentally lets out her magical voice at the worst possible moment. Soon, nothing in Portland, Oregon seems safe. I didn't know this was set in Portland. That's fun. To save themselves from drowning, Tavia and Effie's unbreakable sisterhood must prove to be the strongest magic of all. Wow, I am not loving what just happened to my hair. Anyway, so this too, I think, is inspired by the whole idea of The Little Mermaid. I forgot I was gonna read that story, the origin story of The Little Mermaid. So let's also do that. But I guess the whole idea is she doesn't have a voice. Is that because she lives underwater? And then she trades something for her voice. Listen, I was not a Disney princess kind of girl, so I really don't have that knowledge base. I really should have prepared myself better. I need to be educated. I'll be back. Okay, I just read The Little Mermaid and I now feel more cultured and I understand. I was surprised by some things that happened in The Little Mermaid. Now, granted, I haven't seen the movie, and now I probably should go watch it next. But I do understand the movie, like, version, I think. Or maybe I don't, because, like, to me, it's like a Disney princess story where the prince they end up together and they get married and happily ever after. But maybe not, because the original story, the sea witch takes her voice, right? Everyone already knows this, but like, she took her voice by cutting out her tongue. Does that happen in the movie? And then like, she's like, okay, if you want to be a princess, you have to like deal with pain in your feet for the rest of your life. Like, if you're gonna have feet, I'm gonna take away your tail. You're gonna be in like pain, like stabbing pain every time you walk. And like, why would you do that just for a prince? And she didn't even do it really for the prince. She did it so she could basically like go to heaven. She wanted an eternal soul. But in order to get her eternal soul, me so shook by The Little Mermaid, like, am I 6 years old? To get her eternal soul, the prince had to fall in love with her, which didn't even happen. He saw her as like a child and was like, I love and care for you, but not that way. And then her sisters come give her a fucking knife and they're like, if you kill the prince, you can come back to be a real mermaid again. And then she doesn't. And then she gets to like ascend anyway, and she gets her eternal soul because she, I think, showed like her willingness to sacrifice herself. Like, obviously Hans Christian Andersen has a lot of religious, I was gonna say overtone, not even overtone, just like direct religious influences. I don't know, she made some wild decisions, like did a lot just for love that she didn't even get. I'm sad. I'm gonna make Liam watch the movie with me. Okay, we watched it. I've been educated. I don't have a lot to say about The Little Mermaid, the movie, nor was that the intention of this vlog. But it definitely ended with the happy ending. She didn't turn into sea foam. She married Prince Eric, happily ever after. Ariel's always been my favorite of the Disney princesses, even though I haven't seen her movie. I just love red hair and the water, I guess. But now I know more of the history of The Little Mermaid, at least. Not the history of like the actual, I was gonna say the history of sirens. There is no history of sirens. Well, maybe you believe sirens were real, but I don't know the actual history of the idea of mermaids and sirens. I don't think it was Hans Christian Andersen, so maybe I need to continue educating myself. But we're gonna get on to book number 2. Okay, I'm ready to read my second book. I am just working from home today, and I just filmed my mid-year book, Freak Out, and in it I featured this book, which arrived recently. I've been toting this around with me for almost a week now. I keep bringing it places with me with the intent to start, and then I keep not starting. So that's what I've done today. I didn't mark my spot, but I think I was like 70 pages in. So I don't think when I picked this up that I realized it was a contemporary setting. I think I thought that it was pure fantasy. I knew it had themes and not inspired by, I don't know how to, like, it focuses on the Black Lives Matter movement. It discusses current events and police brutality and murder by police officers, violence against Black bodies. I knew that, but I think that I thought it was fantasy full out like The Deep was. But so far I am so happy because this is my perfect type of book that I talk about so often, that's just real world stuff, like friendships, relationships, jobs, family, like the just typical trials of every day, but with a little weird magical twist. And that's exactly what I'm getting. So far into the book, I will admit I'm a little confused, but I'm sure it will all get explained, or maybe I just need to reread a bit. I do enjoy that it's dual perspective. We're hearing from both girls, but I think I might be getting them confused, or I'm just not fully understanding if both of them are mermaids or sirens, because one of them like acts as a siren at what I think is a Renaissance festival type of thing, but I don't know if she's like pretending to be a mermaid because she isn't, or if she is a mermaid and by pretending to be a mermaid, that's how she actually gets to be a real mermaid, but not reveal that she's a real mermaid. I feel like I've read a book with this similar idea. Anna Marie McLemore. Anna Marie McLemore did something similar with mermaids. Wasn't it mermaids? Here I was talking about how I don't read mermaid books, but I think this literally was a mermaid book. Oh my god, she swims in the mermaid exhibition. Yeah, and this was my least favorite Anna Marie McLemore. This one just didn't totally do it for me. I'm now not remembering why. Was it because it was about mermaids? So far, I think it's really interesting. I think the topics it's covering are important and difficult. And then the relationships are really complex and lovely. They have like this sisterhood, but they're not actually sisters from what I understand, but they call each other sister. I might have to start this over, to be honest. There's also like gargoyles and other creatures. I finished A Song Below Water. I'm sorry, you're gonna have to listen to my fan running, and I'm gonna curl my hair while we're here. I was thinking about starting this while I got ready today, but instead I think as soon as I'm done quickly chatting, I'm actually going to watch some other reviews for this book, because I've seen a lot of kind of mixed reactions to the book, like a lot of 3 stars, and I want to understand some other people's thoughts. I personally loved it. It's kind of a book that I feel like I need to sit with for a minute, but it's definitely a 4.5 out of 5, if not a 5. Like, it was just not what I was expecting, but everything that I love in a book, like the multiple perspectives, the little bit of romance but not too much, the commentary on like real life shit. I would say it's definitely more real life than fantasy. Like, we don't actually spend a ton of time like focused on the siren-ness of it all. And I think the whole idea of sirens and like having to hide your voice and being persecuted and all the themes that the book touches on is to me seems like a reflection, a commentary, a reference to being black in America. So basically in the book, sirens are like, it's illegal to be a siren. Like, you get in trouble for being a siren, because when you use your voice, you can like compel people, and so people don't trust sirens, and people will collar sirens so they can't use their voice. And basically the characters follow this like vlogger who comes out as a siren publicly, and that's a huge focus of the book. The characters all attend this protest, which is about a black man being murdered. But it also has some ties with like sirens silence. The people at the protest are standing up for this vlogger person, and just for like general injustices against the unfair treatment of black people and sirens. And I really enjoyed reading like the history of sirens and how sirens kind of came to be, how sirens have been treated throughout history. Like I assumed earlier, you definitely come to understand the two girls and their different like identities. So me being confused was totally okay, and I really like where the story went in that regard. I think the general themes are like friendship and finding yourself and using your voice, and just like general acceptance, and I think trust. Like, there's people in this network who are willing to protect sirens, and it's like, who can you trust? Effie plays the mermaid, like I told you about, at like the Renaissance Fair, and there's a boy there who she's into. Like a lot of books we have that build up to prom, which is really fun. So there's a lot of just real world, everyday kind of stuff with little magical parts, creaturey stuff. And I really liked it all. I liked all the characters, I liked all the relationships, all the revelations, all the history. I do feel like this book could have been hundreds of more pages, or been like a series. With that said, I don't even read that many series, so who knows if I would even continue in it or continue to enjoy it. So like, I loved it for what it was, but it definitely did feel short. It's 280 pages, and the concept is so interesting, and the characters are also interesting, the commentary, etc. So I feel like it could have been so much more. If you like the types of books that I tend to like, I feel like you'd love it too if you haven't already read it. And I like now that I've read two very different mermaid type stories, even though there are some similar themes. So we can dive into this now. I'm gonna do a little bit of the audiobook because this is like almost 500 pages. Okay, Liam and I are heading to do some errands, and well, maybe I had 2 packages, but I was gonna open them after. But maybe I'll just open them now. We're running some errands, and I'm hoping to find a mermaid something, just to like complete my vlog. Like, while I'm out, I might as well. Maybe a mug, maybe a mermaid tail. I've always wanted to swim with a mermaid tail. Package number 1 is, oh my god, burn our bodies down. This just came out like yesterday, and my pre-order is here, and it's stunning. It used to match my hair, but now my hair's faded. Hello?
Hey, Diddy.
And then there's this package, and I have literally no idea what it is, and I'll never know. I don't have scissors. Is this a knife?
No, don't you. I'll show you how to open it. I've used.
Ah! I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. This is scary. Ah, how do you close it? Oh god. Okay, well, I'm just gonna put it in the glove box.
Oh my god, someone might find that.
Who would find it? I'll make Rob deal with it when I get home. Anyway, I have a second package. don't even know who it's from because I probably just ripped off their name. Sweden? Oh! Oh! It's books! Tour. They sent me Night of the Mannequins. Which is one of my most anticipated books of the year. And then even higher on my list of anticipated books is Over the Woodward Wall. This is amazing, and I already know 2 people that I'm going to send these to when I'm done reading them. They're very short. Anyway, that has nothing to do with my mermaid vlog, so let's see if we can find a mermaid item. Also, I just realized I forgot the whole point of this vlog was to update you on my book, which is by Mira Grant, who is Seanan McGuire, who is a Deborah Baker. So that worked out really well. I really like this so far. The audiobook isn't going to work for me. It's fine, but there's a bunch of different things in here, like kind of interviews and descriptions, and kind of like articles, and I would rather either listen to like a full cast kind of vibe or just read it with my eyes. So that's what I'm gonna do. But I'm probably like, I was 30 pages in maybe to the audiobook, and I was really liking it. It's about this like ship that went down with all of these researchers on it trying to prove the existence of mermaids, and then all those people have been missing or died, and then the sister of one of them is now going off on her own adventure to find out the truth about what happened to the crew, and again, if there are really mermaids. I also really like the references to ASL, which also existed in The Song Below Water, which is just a nice communication reference. Isn't my mask so cute? I am so stupid. That's a siren on this mug this whole time. Okay, I'm looking a little rough. I spent the day cleaning and working, and oh, it's on the other side. I can't believe I had this cup this whole time. So I took my Bookstagram picture to promote this video, and I did listen to a bit of the audiobook while I was cleaning, just because, like, why not? And I know I'm on chapter 20. So that's like exactly the halfway point. And like I've already established, I do enjoy it more when I read it with my eyes. So once again, I'm going to continue that. I don't know if this is true for everyone else or anyone else, but thrillers and horror just don't work for me on audio. Like the physical act of turning pages and the anticipation of like building and reading down the page, like that's what I need to get the feelings that I want. What I've learned is Seanan McGuire has a real thing for writing twins. There's twins in every single book that I've read from her, and equally I love the twins in this book. So they are deaf, and they have different roles on this ship, and everybody who is on this expedition has a different intention of being there. It's really interesting because there's like this media company that wants footage of this thing to make like a show, but all the people that they've invited to come onto the trip, they all have their own individual things that they're doing. So we're following all these different people. They all have different relationships with each other. They all have different motives, and it's very interesting. One of the twins wants to be like the first deaf woman to dive the Marianas Trench, and her story is the one that I find the most interesting in here. And then they have this older sister who's also come along as their translator, and there's some really interesting like language stuff in here. I would recommend this for fans of Story of Your Life. Who is that by? Ted Chiang. Sorry, I had to go look at my bookshelf. Or Arrival. That's the movie based on that book. Or that story in the short story collection book. So they're trying to find the mermaids, they're trying to find out the truth about mermaids, and they're trying to understand the mermaids and the way they communicate. I didn't read you the synopsis, I'm now realizing, but I feel like I've pretty much covered it. 7 years ago, the Atargatis. It's so weird that I've heard this ship named a couple times, and now I can't remember. 7 years ago, a ship went set on a voyage to the Mariners Trench to film a mockumentary bringing to life ancient sea creatures of legend. It was lost at sea with all hands. Some have called it a hoax, others have called it a tragedy. Now a new crew has been assembled. Some seek to validate their life's work, some seek the greatest hunt of all, some seek the truth. I hadn't even read the synopsis and I pretty much just explained it to you. Everyone has a different goal of being there. For the ambitious young scientist Victoria Stewart, this is a voyage to uncover the fate of the sister she lost. So yeah, we're mostly focused on Victoria, but there's lots of other characters and storylines going on. I mean, it's a lengthy book. It's going by quickly. I am enjoying it. So when I mentioned the fact that it has ASL, it has nothing to do with the mermaids. It was mentioned early on because of those sisters. I don't know enough about Sean McGuire, but there is like representation in here obviously for deafness and for autism, and I don't know like how anyone would feel about that representation, so I would seek out reviews that maybe mention those things just in case you're worried about the rep, and I will be looking at it as well. As someone who is hard of hearing and as someone who has learned ASL in the past, I find that like a nice part of the book, but I don't know if people would appreciate like how things are done. Not that I would deem anything harmful or even that it's the major part of the story, but I just felt like mentioning it for some reason. So I didn't update you very much while reading this. I'm very sorry. It's my constant like grappling between how much of real life to show when it's a themed vlog and I'm doing something specific, like should I take you in my real life or should I leave you behind? I left you behind. I've been very busy. I haven't had a lot of availability to even discuss this with you, but I will take the time to do that now. Before I do, randomly, if you've never donated blood before, now would be a great time to do that. I think I didn't realize like during this pandemic it hasn't really occurred to me much to donate blood, and that has been a trend with lots of people, which means there's still just as much blood needed in procedures but not as much blood is being donated. So if you are available, if you've never done it before, it's not as scary as you think. I think the first time I donated blood was on my 18th birthday. I think that's when you're allowed to go. You can go with friends or coworkers if you feel it's a safe thing to do. I would highly encourage you to do that. While you're donating your blood, donate some money to various organizations. Donate your time. We've been spending a lot of time volunteering and gathering supplies and stuff for various local efforts. I think at the beginning of this whole pandemic, I was very much in like a me mindset and like, this is stressful, how am I gonna figure out this, and this, and now I'm sad that it took me a while to get out of my own brain, but there are so many other people who need so much help right now, and I would just, I don't know, I would like to mention that, so maybe it will occur to someone else. I'm sure everyone is doing everything they can, but I think there's something about self-isolating and being in your house so much that maybe you forget about the outside world. I know there are so many things happening that are terrible and don't allow you to forget about the outside world, as we shouldn't. So maybe I'm completely off base, but there are so many things to care about, and there are so many important things that thinking about your own community maybe isn't always a thing, but I hope that you're putting in some local efforts just in general, various things. What am I talking about? I thought I was in a place where I could like have a discussion, but clearly my mouth and my brain are not doing the thing that they're supposed to do. Into the Drowning Deep ended up being 4 stars or 3.75. This was super interesting. It was definitely more science-y than fantasy. It was horror, but I don't know if anyone else would find it scary. Probably. I just don't get scared by books. I don't know why. Every time I pick up a horror, I hope it's gonna scare me, and it doesn't, but maybe it's just not something that I'm capable of feeling. I still really like the underwater themes. Like, I'm not personally scared of water, like open ocean and not being able to see the bottom, like that doesn't scare me. I am a water baby. I live in the lake. No, I don't. You know what I'm saying. Do you? I've been filming for 9 minutes and I haven't said anything. So that doesn't scare me in real life, but I still think the idea of it and reading it in books is an anxious feeling, like somebody being underwater, and the idea of like, can you get to the top before you run out of breath, etc. I liked all of the characters in here. It was a queer book too. There's a female-female relationship in here that I was rooting for, so that was a nice surprise. I liked the themes of like marine biology and the idea of studying creatures and animals, and how like human beings are so self-obsessed and think that we're so important that we ruin the planet and we like steal creatures for our own gain. And like, it did a really good job, I think, of discussing the captivity of whales and dolphins. Lots of things that I appreciated in here. I'm learning, I think, that creature horror isn't my favorite, so the idea of killer mermaids just like isn't naturally something that I gravitate towards. I like mermaids in more of a contemporary setting. I also think I talked about the language and the idea of communication. I really liked that. There are a couple scenes that are really sticking with me. There's one that's like an autopsy that's very interesting. I liked all the mysterious elements of this. I think I've just learned that I don't know if creature horror could ever get a 5-star anyway. So now, having read 3 mermaid or siren books, it's so interesting how different and similar certain things are. These are all so different, even though they're all about mermaids. I shouldn't be surprised, but that's what I came away with in this video. We've got like a true fantasy, we've got contemporary with a bit of fantasy, we've got sci-fi, horror. These all dealt with the like evolution of mermaids completely differently, which is so cool. Each book kind of dealt with 2 different ideas of like a human and something else combining together to make the mermaids, and that creature or that animal was completely different in all of these. I don't want to give any spoilers because for some of them it's like part of the actual story is learning that. And then I also really like the fact that the mermaids are dealt with completely differently in all of them, like how they communicate completely differently, how some of them live primarily on land, some of them live primarily in the water, some of them can do both. As far as my ratings go, for the 3 mermaid books that I read, my least favorite was Into the Drowning Deep, and then just The Deep, and then A Song Below Water. So 3.75 stars, 4 stars, 4.5 stars. Very specific ratings. I don't know why, but that's that. Have I come to any interesting conclusions? I like books that deal with real world, intense, like difficult reflections. I don't know that I would ever go out of my way again, regardless of liking all of these. I still don't think of mermaids now as something that like I love and I want to pick up a ton of. This was super interesting conceptually, but this one, the fact that it takes place real world is why I think I loved it so much. So I would read another mermaid or siren type book like this, and I would read more from Rivers Solomon, but I don't know that like seeking out every mermaid book in the future is really my brand. But it was a fun time. I didn't learn anything huge about myself. Like, part of me was like, oh my god, what if I hate all of these books? Which would suck, but would teach me something new that I don't like in books. I didn't get that. I think I got that, yeah, mermaids are cool, they're interesting. I should definitely learn more about the mythology behind it. And I just love the ocean. That's all I know. So if you have any mermaid books that you'd like to recommend to anybody else watching, please do that down below. I will see you later. Thank you so much for watching. And let me know anything you thought down below. Do you like mermaids? Do you hate them? Have you read any of these books? I'll see you later. Bye.